Happy UFO Disclosure Day. That's right, it's been 6 years since the New York Times article launched this new era of ufology. I love it. I'm actually a day or two late, but it's time to celebrate this unique anniversary and a whole lot more. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, let's just get right to it. There's actually an op-ed in the New York Times celebrating this and talking about David Grush, etc. I'm not a subscriber to New York Times, so I will simply read this reposting by Joe Murgia. So thank you, UFO Joe. I really appreciate it. It's time for UFO whistleblowers to show their cards. This is from December 16th by Ross Douthat. Almost sounds like a pseudonym of Ross Coulthart, right? But it's not. Last week on the Senate floor, 2 senators rose to express disappointment with the House of Representatives. This was by itself routine enough, but the senators, Mike Rounds, Republican of South Dakota, and the New York Democrat, and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer weren't complaining about Ukraine funding or border policy. They were complaining that the House was impeding transparency on UFOs. The op-ed goes on to give a brief rundown of what's going on with the Schumer-Rounds amendment, etc., and then he says, "My personal hope as someone fascinated and frustrated by this business ever since the military first started acknowledging that its pilots have been seeing some weird things in the skies is that we are nearing a point of real clarity, not necessarily about what UAPs are, but about whether some faction in the government really knows much more about the mystery than what's in the public record." Well, they do. The probabilities of ET life or non-human intelligence aside, the best reason to doubt such secret keeping is that it would require too much of a government that has let so many major secrets slip over the last 75 years. The deep state let the Soviets steal atomic secrets, and the mainstream press published the Pentagon Papers. It had its Cold War laundry aired by the Church Committee. It saw much of its war on terror architecture rapidly exposed, so it's hard to see how it could have kept a lid on programs that study actual ET or interdimensional visitors, especially over generations, and especially if we're supposed to believe that private contractors are part of the cover-up as well. The counter-argument is that there are still things we know that we don't know in the deep state vault about, say, the Saudi connections to September 11th, so there might also be things we don't know that we don't know, especially if you imagine a hypothetical UAP program that's extremely small, walled off from the rest of the national security state, united by a belief that it's protecting Americans from the cosmic shock of uncontrolled disclosure, and so deeply classified that its functionaries might fear being murdered if they leak. So it goes on, and I'll let you read it at your leisure. But you can see he's trying to give both sides of the story. Of course, he's doing it in a very mainstream way. Really, the UFO control group seems like it's quite large. And they have managed to keep a lid on this, for the most part, for many years. However, there have been numerous leaks over those years. My hats are off to those whistleblowers, because in many cases their life was, really threatened, and people have lost their lives because of this stuff. But the UFO group is so big that Richard Dolan calls it the breakaway civilization. And that seems, where my own research is taking me, that seems to be kind of the scale of what we're looking at. But, let me know if you think it is a small, secretive group in the comments below. But either way, I love that the New York Times is covering this in an intelligent way and not from a purely a debunking angle. That's completely unlike Elon Musk, who has a new tweet debunking the ET reality. And this is responding to Tucker Carlson, who says, Episode 51, it's becoming obvious that the U.S. government has made contact with non-human beings. So why are they lying to us about it? We ask UFO whistleblower David Grush. And of course, links to the video. But Elon Musk says, I am confident that they have not. Fastest way to increase the defense budget would be to show evidence of hostile aliens. Well, I mean, exactly, Elon, exactly. And they haven't. They've been denying it all. That's just, Elon is either read into the program or he's, has some self-defense mechanism internally to prevent ontological shock. And so he comes out with these statements. Clearly, if the Defense Department wanted more money to prevent an ET invasion, they would present publicly evidence of hostile ETs, and they have not. Indeed, quite the opposite. Not only are there no hostile ETs, but there's no ETs at all, according to these guys. So, there's barely a phenomenon to study, according to people like Sean Kirkpatrick. So, so there you go. There's Elon's continuing take on the ET situation. Meanwhile, Ross Coulthart links to a really interesting article, Solid Empirically Driven Science Gathering Potentially Groundbreaking Data on UAPs. UFOs, How Astronomers Are Searching the Sky for Alien Probes Near Earth. Love it. And he links to this article from theconversation.com. UFOs, How Astronomers Are Searching the Sky for Alien Probes Near Earth. There has been increased interest in UFOs ever since the Pentagon's 2021 report revealed what appears to be anomalous objects in U.S. airspace, dubbed UAP. Fast forward to 2023, and NASA has already formed a panel to investigate the reports and appointed a director for UAP research. A newly founded Pentagon desk has also released footage of mysterious metallic orbs. What is perhaps most remarkable is that David Grush, a former intelligence officer, testified under oath before the U.S. Congress, stating that he had interviewed around 40 people involved in secret programs dealing with crashed UFOs. I am interested in searching the sky for alien physical objects which may one day tell us whether we are alone in the galaxy. Consider this: within our own Milky Way galaxy, there are 40 billion Earth-sized, potentially habitable planets. And the article goes on, but as you can see, they're taking the subject seriously, although again from a very mainstream standpoint. But it's wonderful that mainstream science is starting to get engaged in this topic, taking it seriously and planning ways to study it. I love it. Of course, I would love it even more if they would get into the deeper stuff. I mean, these guys are already here. They've been interacting with us and with Earth for a long time. We need to know why. We need to know what's going on. What is the government doing? Why are they keeping this secret from us? What factions are they working with? What factions are they working against? I mean, what are the spiritual components and elements and ramifications of all of this? Because that is a part of it too. Even David Grush has alluded to that. So, there's a lot of deep stuff that we need answers to. That's why I'm not excited by the work of Avi Loeb in the sense that we're going to get some answers from that. But I do love the idea and the fact that mainstream science is finally getting aboard the UFO train. Meanwhile, remember this submerged city found off the coast of Cuba or near Cuba? I mean, I love this thing. This is, some sort of Aztec or something like that city that has been claimed by the water. But is it Aztec or is it Inca or Mayan or what have you? Because there's evidence that it may be 50,000 years old. So are we looking at Atlantis here or some Atlantean civilization? I don't know, but I love it. Stargazers Nation says 50,000-year-old pyramids submerged near Cuba. Wait till you hear this. In 2001, marine engineer Pauline, I'm not going to be able to say that name, while working for the Cuban government, discovered something submerged in the waters off the coast of Cuba. After careful examinations of the sonar images she had taken, it quickly became apparent that she and her team had discovered something at a depth of 750 meters and covering an area of 2 square miles. It appeared to show that she had discovered a city on the seafloor, complete with huge structures like pyramids and other buildings located in the, I'm not going to be able to say that name, peninsula, but the story strangely fell silent as relations broke down between Cuba and the USA. In July 2001, she returned to the site with geologist Manuel. Hats off if you can say that name. Senior researcher of Cuba's Natural History Museum, this time equipped with a remotely operated vehicle to examine and film the structures. The images revealed blocks of stone resembling hewn granite, measuring about 8 feet by 10 feet. Some blocks appeared deliberately stacked atop one another. Others appeared isolated from the rest. Zalitsky said that the images appeared to reflect the ruins of a submerged city, but was reluctant to draw any conclusions without further evidence. These are extremely peculiar structures, and they have captured our imagination, said this gentleman, who has studied countless underwater formations. But if I had to explain this geologically, I would have a hard time estimating that it would have taken 50,000 years for such structures to have sunken to a depth at which they were said to be found. This gentleman added, 50,000 years ago, there wasn't the architectural capacity in any of the cultures we know of to build complex buildings. A specialist in underwater archaeology at Florida State University added, it would be cool if they were right, but it would be real advance for anything we would see in the New World for that time frame. The structures are out of time and out of place. And that's why I love this story so much. What is this fantastic underwater city? How did it come to be there? Is it really 50,000 years old or older? Are we looking at some sort of Atlantean type civilization? What do you guys think is the explanation for this fantastic underwater city? Speaking of cool underwater things, check out this UFO. Multiple people have sent me this, most recently Christopher Noel, so I'll give Chris the credit on this. But yeah, well, there's music. Okay, yeah, I've seen this is an older UAP video, but I love it, and of course it's pertinent to a discussion of underwater craziness, so check it out. Also, squids are cool. I've written several novels set in a world with a fantastic sea. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Wow, it's crazy. Probably a raccoon. Probably a raccoon. What is that thing? What did they capture? What is that crazy object? And it looks very disc-like, doesn't it? It looks very, very disc-like. Yeah. And how big is that squid? I would like to know how big that squid is. Looks like it's probably only a few feet long, if that. Going slowly, slowly. Look at that. Look at that. Super harp. Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. What do you think that is? Is that a flying saucer? Is that a disc? Is that something else? Does it just look like a disc because of, the shape you can see from this direction? I don't know, but it's pretty cool. Note that the object appears behind the main subject, indicating that it's further from the camera than the squid, and thus must be at least as large. Is it going to tell us how large that thing is? Nope. Okay. Well, there you go. Oh, and this is cool. Have you ever wanted to know how Lou Elizondo met Chris Melon? This is from an older interview with George Knapp. But I hadn't seen it before, or at least I've forgotten it. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention because, that's a famous pairing right there, Lou Elizondo and Chris Melon. So what is their meet cute? Well, let's find out. This is Elizondo discussing or addressing Chris Melon. He says, I remember being briefed at the Pentagon and someone saying, hey, a former very senior level DOD official is here to talk to you. And I remember you, Chris Melon, coming in and saying, hey, listen, I would really like to know, in laughs, about this particular portfolio you guys are doing here called ATIP. And first of all, I was astonished that you even knew that we were part of this effort. We weren't prepared to tell you anything. And of course, I remember very quickly looking over my shoulder, kind of laughing at one of my guys there that's with me. And I looked at you and I said, okay, well, if you want a briefing, that's fine, but you're going to need these tickets. And it was a long laundry list, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth. And I remember you were diligently writing notes and you said, okay, no sweat. And I know from the inside, it takes over a year sometimes to even get nominated for some of these tickets. So as you left, I kind of looked back and snickered to my colleagues and said, we'll never see him again, right? The problem is solved. We don't have to worry about that. And I'll be damned if in the very next week, you came back to my office and they said, hey, he's out here again. And I said, well, what does he want? We can't let him in unless he's even got the tickets. And I remember one of my guys saying, Mr. Elizondo, he's got the tickets. And I cannot believe that within a week's time, you had somehow managed, and I verified and validated it. You did it. So at that point, I realized, okay, this guy is for real, and he's got the connections. And indeed, Chris Melon does have the connections within the government and without. So, yeah, I love it. That is the mute cute of Lou Elizondo and Chris Melon. Meanwhile, were the Hong Shan people of China, of ancient China, interacting with beings similar to the Nazca beings. Look at that. Doesn't that look so similar to the Nazca beings? I love it. That's crazy. And this was sent to me by Nico. You'll remember Nico from the interview, the fantastic interview. And he sent me some really good stuff about the Hong Shans. The Hong Shan culture was a Neolithic culture in the West Liao River Basin in northeast China. Hong Shan sites have been found in an area stretching from Inner Mongolia to Liaoning and dated from about 4700 to 2900 BC. The culture is named after, well, I'm not going to read all the details, but there you go. You can read all about the Hong Shans if you want to. But there are multiple items that are really interesting. I mean, that could just be any gargoyle type being, but what's notable is that it's got 3 fingers. What does that mean? What does that mean? That is really, really intriguing. Yeah, 3 fingers on that horned guy. What does that mean? I love it. I love it. It's crazy. 3 fingers again on this very alien looking being. So what do you think were the Hong Shan people interacting with non-human intelligences thousands of years ago? I love it, and thank you, Nico, for this awesome story. Let me know what you think about this and every other thing covered today in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos so you don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media, Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. See the links below. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please grab a t-shirt in the merch store or become a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Channel members also often get to see videos hours or even a day ahead of everybody else. So see the first link in the description below for that. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.